Thank you, staff members, and thank you, members of the public, for joining us. For those who are joining us for the first time, this is an agenda briefing session, which is an informal meeting in a way. We are not here to make decisions tonight. It's an opportunity for the elected member group to discuss the upcoming agenda, ask any questions they have, to form their opinions for next week's decision-making process. But welcome, and welcome to anybody joining online. Thank you for joining us. We do have apologies from Councillor Brown that I'm aware of. I haven't seen any other apologies yet. Is anyone aware of any other apologies? Councillor Steck is an apology as well.
I haven't seen anything.
Thank you. Thank you. The minutes of the things we'll deal with next week, and there's those items are coming through. The items from those minutes are coming through for this discussion tonight. Through the report, councillors, a number of policies here. So we'll work our way through those, all the way through to item 10.1.1. Thanks, minute taker. We've skipped a few. So the review of the, sorry, before I do ask, was there any declarations of interest? That's probably a very important step, which I did skip over. Declarations of interest, councillors? Yeah, Director, you might have a declaration of interest in one of the items. You will need to fill a form for that, for item 15.1.1. You probably have to leave the room too. Thank you. 10.1.1. Any questions on this, councillors? Councillor Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to point 2, is there a possibility to get a little bit more information on, I guess, what the committee is seeking around diversity, equity and inclusion framework, noting that the Disability Access and Inclusion Committee has also been working in this space, and I believe there is some stuff underway currently.
Sure. CEO?
Thank you, Mayor. I might get the Director of Strategy and Organisational Performance to...
That's right. It was just in relation to point 2, the Disability Access and Inclusion Committee, and has been inquiring and working towards some aspects of access and inclusion as well. And we have been having discussions around an access and inclusion policy and working in that space. So LGBTQI, the elderly, women's rights, all those sorts of things.
Thank you for the clarification. Through the chair, yes, Councillor Quain has also been talking to us around an overarching policy in that area, which would then address overarching disability access and inclusion, and then you'll have separate policies under each one of that. If we pursue with that process, we will address that inclusion aspect of that as well. So we're still in consultation with Councillor Quain. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Andrew?
Vaguely, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess what are we trying to achieve, I guess, with this, considering that the city, I believe, also has a few things happening in this space, which I'm aware probably aren't happening for the next 12 months, but we are working in this, and it's just making sure that we're not doubling up between 2 separate committees.
Comments on that through the CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Perhaps, and I wasn't at the Policy Review Committee, if I understand correctly, Councillor Quain has raised some of this issue in particular, and there's more work that we might need to do on that. It may be between now and the council meeting we can perhaps provide a little bit more information in terms of what point 2 in particular is trying to achieve. So happy to do that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Turner?
I'm just wondering if that could be, rather than pass next week, the point 2, if that could go back to the Disability Inclusion Committee, because I know we've brought up this quite a few times throughout the process of the Disability Inclusion Committee trying to add those things, but there's been a bit of kickback in a sense.
Sure.
So is that something we can take back to the Disability Inclusion Committee and leave out point 2 for now?
Through the chair,
CEO?
we actually have a meeting tomorrow for the Disability Inclusion Working Group. So perhaps that's the exact forum where we can discuss this, and then we can make any refinements to the report based on that. Will that be all right? Thank you.
And of course, Councillor Turner, any other suggested changes you're free to make or suggest next week. And if the committee are happy with that as well, we can obviously amend with that prior through the exec. Thank you. Councillor, CEO, further to add?
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Councillor Andrew?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I guess just picking up on this item, it might be worth also having, I guess, a strategic briefing, if we can, between councillors, because obviously there's two separate committees who are both got the same alignment, and it's good if we're all singing the same song. It doesn't matter where it comes from, but as long as I think it progresses.
Sure, and that can be tied in, and clearly, obviously, post-election, all those committees will be reviewed, and that's maybe part of that process, is informing which individual committee does what. Any other questions on this item? Thank you. Council polls, 10.1.2, any questions? Thank you. 10.1.3, any questions on this? Thank you. 10.1.4, electronic attendance. Councillor Ramesh?
Yeah, just a query, Mr. Mayor. I've read through that, but shouldn't infection or any infectious illness be one of the criteria for permission to be granted for online meetings?
Yeah, so up until 2 months ago, Councillor Ramesh, we never had this policy, and it's obviously already being reviewed. So clearly it can be amended in any way. This was to try and give some guiding principles to what it should be. This is what the committee have come up with in this regard, with this amendment. So it talks about obviously physically possible for the member to attend. And that's probably indicating that ideally we would like preference for people to be here, but clearly if there are extenuating circumstances, they can be approved. Under the current edition, not this obviously amendment, it doesn't actually allow for any of that. So it's just purely the presiding member's preference.
Just ask a query really, Mr. Mayor, is so if the council member, they can't join online, but can they watch it online? Just like any of the public.
Sure, anyone can watch online.
Sorry, I'm just going to follow up. The reason I'm asking is I've just seen a couple of emails where some of the council elected members can't attend but can't join in the discussion, but they could have just still joined online. Is that right?
Absolutely. Councillor Andrew? Councillor Turner?
In regards to that, I was wondering if there could be the policy where if there's a council meeting and they've got an infectious disease, that they could attend online, but if it's just like a briefing session, well, they can just email through their questions.
Yes, probably adding, again, this is subject to change and council's endorsement next week. As you'll note, the suggested changes at the moment, the current policy means that all meetings are treated the same, so including briefings and strategic sessions. This policy is moving away from that and trying to allow that ease of attendance for more informal meetings, where the formality of the formal OCMs obviously have some more of those guidelines, which still obviously do require, as you guys would, as you elected members would be aware, timing can be important, because allowing time for the staff to get things ready, making sure it all works is one thing. But obviously, yeah, this is trying to streamline, and probably the intent of this would be allow for those potential briefings not to require some of those situations. But Councillor Turner, obviously there's no number of suggestions that can be made for next week. Councillor Andrew?
Thank you. I guess just making sure that 4 hours is enough time to give enough leeway for that request to be dealt with.
Yeah, it's currently 48, which seems plenty, so somewhere in the middle is for our CEOs. 4 hours enough for our staff to
Yeah, I'm
prepare?
assured, Mayor, that 4 hours is enough for us to do what we need to do to make sure that there is appropriate access for elected members who want to attend online.
Sorry, I'm just
Councillor
gonna, I couldn't hear that. So are you saying 4 hours is not sufficient time?
No, sorry, councillor Ramesh, sorry, Mayor, through you. 4 hours is enough time. Yeah, yeah.
The current policy is 2 days, so, which is significant, but there is some works that need to be done to get it ready. So 4 hours is being indicated is a correct time. Councillor Steele?
Mayor, for when we were talking about this in the policy review, this I think was mainly just directed at our formal meetings more so, wasn't it? Yes, because I think it's a bit more better to be lenient on.
Sure, and the definitions is to remove those other meetings out of this definition, which effectively suggests it's now silent in that position, but obviously the intent as the council of the day for those kind of things would be to strategic sessions and whatnot, and more from the official OCMs. Further questions? Thank you. 10.15. No questions? 10.16. Councillor Kozisek.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to ask the CEO, there were 2 items on the policy committee regarding local purchasing, local supply preference, etc. One of them was suggested in the outcome that it come to a strategic briefing to all councillors shortly. I'm just wondering if we've got any idea when that might occur, please.
Sure, and that's item 8.6 in the minutes, councillors, the purchasing policy, which obviously didn't pass through the committee, so that's strategic, but CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So with the impending caretaker period, we haven't scheduled many, or I don't think we've scheduled any briefings, strategic briefings between now and that, but we are, as ELT, looking at those items we'll need to bring on in October after the election and start to schedule that. So we'll start working on that calendar, and there's already a couple of things from tonight that we'll make sure that are on there.
Teresia?
Yep.
Through the chair, I can confirm that the officers have already started doing some work, because we said we'll bring a piece of work to that session. So we're giving them the time to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions on this item? Thank you. 10.17. Thank you. 10.21. Thank you. 10.31. Ten 3.3. Okay. 10.34, and councillors should be aware, if you haven't yet, just obviously D has reached out for those who are wanting to attend WALGA, but this is obviously for voting delegates. Now, Councillor Steele, you've raised a motion, so I'm not sure whether or not you intend to be a voting delegate, if you would like to potentially be one, but obviously that's open to any elected members. But if there's any preference from any elected members who may be interested, again, we'll deal with that next week. Obviously, if there's more than 2, we vote, but as someone who's been a voting delegate previously, it comes with great responsibility, great power. Or 277 votes that are in the room, and most of them don't vote. So we'll deal with that next week.
Sorry, Meg, can I just ask, just with the WALGA having the convention right before an election, is this a normal process? Or?
Yeah, it's the same time every year, Councillor Ramesh. They have that election that WALGA conference in September. So it's same time every year. Under our policy, there's a policy guidelines around attendance for either personal development or in particular WALGA conferences. So that outlines that regard, and it's through your own choice whether you work through your policy to determine whether or not you need to go. The agenda's out. I had a look at it today. The conference agenda is out there. It's a little bit lacking in detail, but it sort of gives an overline of what the 2 days are all about. Thank you. 10.35. Any questions on this, Councillor Turner?
If I can, online, the strategic context, 3.1 planning framework, I wasn't able to read the page because it was cut off for about 6 pages on the right-hand side. I can read half the column.
Right.
Is it possible to get that fixed online so I can read
Yeah.
it properly, please?
Sure, that can be taken.
I think there's about 6 pages, from page 249 onwards. And if I can follow up with another question, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Turner.
Just regarding the placement to do with the Jetty Road and also the Bicentennial Square, it's got the red outlined area of where the gallery would go. Is that the size of what the gallery would be? So would that land have to be developed out further near the Jetty Road? And also on the Bicentennial Square, would that encroach back into where rivers and that are, please?
Sure. I think there's still a fair bit to work before that next step, that concept. But CEO, do you want to provide some comment around that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And then you're right, there is more work. So conceptually, there is we know there's a functional brief. We know the sort of size and scale, but how that would actually fit on a site is still to be determined. So I think they're almost indications of where the potentially it could go, but there's a lot more work that we need to do before that. And I don't know if the Director of Corporate and Community wants to make any further comments.
Through the chair, yes, I can agree. They call it the blob diagram, so it's just a blob that we put on there to show roughly where the space would be. No dimensions have been thought through yet. That will be the next phase in the future.
Your CEO?
So, Mayor, I understand that there may be some discussion we may need to have around some of the recommendations 4 and 5 around the dates in there. So happy to work with, the Deputy Mayor, and I know Councillor Kostek has raised that as well. So happy to just tidy that up in between this meeting and the next, just to provide greater clarity.
Yep. Thank you. Further questions? Thank you. 10.51 is the purchase. It does have a confidential appendix, Councillor, so if there's any questions around the confidential side of it, we will need to deal with that behind closed doors, given the commercial sensitive information. Any questions? Thank you. 10.52. Oh, Councillor Andrews, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, has the city been approached, to support the efforts with memorialising Marley with the statue?
I have personally, and I think I indicated if there was something formal provided, then it could be considered. But from a city's point of view, I don't think anything's been outreached yet. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Nothing further. I'm obviously aware of some of the discussion, and in discussion with the Mayor that there's been, the potential for the city to contribute, but no formal approach as of yet.
Do you want, Deputy Mayor, do you have some update? Is that from some other position?
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, there has been some discussion both at the Port Authority and the South West Development Commission on how they're going to memorialise Marley, as well as this latest of naming a boat ramp after him. Yeah, pretty special animal apparently. So yeah, they're going to. I don't know whether it's going to be a statue, whatever it is, but there will be something there that makes mention of his life. Bunbury's red dog, really.
Well, it's certainly probably a bit more exciting than Boat Ramp Road anyway. Thank you. So for members of the public, we are dealing with a confidential item on the next part of the agenda. So this meeting will be closed to the public for this particular item. Thank you for joining us. And I'll probably be asking staff, I would imagine, other than the CEO, to probably also leave us. Thank you. you.